Hello everyone, welcome back to another video in Build a Boat for Treasure. This is my pig in a pipe roller coaster. I call it a pig in a pipe because they use a similar device for scanning the inside of high pressure pipes for gas and oil and stuff like that, with a little device that scans the inside of the pipe. Anyway, it runs along pretty much just like this one, with wheels pushing on the outside of or on the inside of the pipe. And this thing's fun. It was fun to build. It was a fun challenge. And I'm going to try to show you how to do it simpler today. The reason I want to redo this is, well, let me get to a flat spot here so I can drop this vehicle real quick. And this is kind of interesting too. I will show you how this looks. There we go. Whoops. Okay, it fell right through. Okay, I okay, I lost the vehicle. Anyway, that is okay because this is kind of my point here. Let me select all of this, and I just wanted to show you how remarkably expensive this particular tube is. So 15,000 sand is what I've got here. That's not exactly cheap. Not everybody has 15,000 sand. So that's good. Let's jump into a cheaper version of this. See if I can make a smaller one for you, and do it tutorial style. Okay, like every good build, we start with a stick. I'm going to pull it up here in the air just a little bit and change my scaling tool to 0.9. I'm going to pull it all in, and that keeps my ground reference nice and neatly centered right in the middle of this block. And I'm going to pull this out to 4 long. And now I'm going to place another piece of plastic right here on the end of this and scale that down to 0.5. And that's where the spring's going to go. Like so. And then grab the spring and clone it and rotate it. And then it's going to be put right inside the other spring, so it looks something like that. Okay, now I'm going to grab this piece and I'm going to move it out so that I can place wheels right there on that piece, just as a reference piece. Now I'm going to move that piece back in just a second, but before I do that, I'm going to get a wheel placed there, and flip that and put one right there. So they're placed right here on this stick, and I'm going to move that stick back out of the way now. So it's back to 4 long again, and now I've got a nice 0.2 gap right between those wheels. In addition to that, I'm going to go ahead and gap these things by 0.1. and get them away from each other by 0.1 in this direction, that direction, and this direction, and that direction. Okay, so basically the wheels are completely floating. You can look down this little crack right here. There's a gap there, a gap there, a gap on the bottom between the wheels. So the wheels aren't touching anything. And now I just need to connect those to the springs. So I'm going to put a block right there and one right there, and I'm going to go ahead and scale those in by 0.5, and then just go ahead and pull them down, and then I'm just going to pull them over here like so. They just need to be connecting. They don't need to be anything particularly pretty or even all the way over or anything like that. And those should not cause any interference. I'm just checking real quick to make sure they don't. They look good, and I'll grab the entire shebang there and clone it and rotate it. And then rotate it again. Okay, so we've got, let's see, I think there should be a little bit more gap here. I might have to move that over before I let go of that piece. Let's go to like right there. There we go. The reason I want this gap here is because that's where my chair is going to go. Okay, so I'm going to put the chair right there, and that centers on it. And now I'm going to grab the chair and move it down so that the center point of the chair, this little dot right here, is actually centered on that bar right there. And I think is it 3? It's like 2.5 or something like that, I think. Okay, there we go. Cool. So that center point of the chair is right there. Try to make the lowest profile possible so the chair can fit inside the tube. So the goal to putting the wheels oriented in this direction is to make this profile very small, and that comes in handy right now. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this piece right here, and that's going to give me a reference point. And I'm going to go ahead and make this out of sand again, because sand has some grip and I kind of like that. Now I have seen some videos that indicate that sand may not be the grippiest when it comes to combining with other blocks. So one block has a certain amount of grip, another block has a different amount of grip, and if you combine those together, reference to each other, they don't necessarily have the maximum amount of grip together. So I don't know, that doesn't make any sense, and I'm not going to define it right now, but I may have to visit that again in the future. Okay, so this piece, I need to turn collision off so I don't interfere with the wheels or anything, and I should probably save this thing. Let me save it before I go messing with this. It's a good point to save. Okay, got it saved. This piece is collision off, so I'm going to scale this in just a little bit, and the objective here is to figure out how small we can make the tube. So you want it to be basically as small as possible to make it as cheap as possible, but it needs to have a little gap around it, so I'm going to say that's probably a little too tight. So maybe, in this case, maybe like that. 9 outside. Yeah, probably a 9 outside. So let's see. Let's go ahead and pull this. Let's go ahead and pull that back for a second. And I'm going to clone that piece. And then pull each one of these pieces back. I'm going to make it 0.2 thick, and that should be enough, hopefully, to do all the corners and stuff that it has to do without having too much gap. Okay, now I just need to make a circle. So okay, easy peasy, simple circle. This scaling thing was 0.4 to pull these in on all sides, and that makes them pretty good. There's a little overlap right there, but that's actually just fine. Okay, and now I'm going to make this into a tube, and I'm going to go for 20 long. So I'm going to adjust this by 18. I think that'll be long enough, and hopefully not too long. All right, here we go. Sweet. Okay, I got a tube. It looks like it'll fit inside that thing. We could test the vehicle right now, but first I think I'm going to make a clone of this. All right, awesome. And I'm going to lengthen this thing to test the vehicle, because I'm going to need a pipe that's longer anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and go to 20. All right, cool. Now, one of the reasons I made the pipe like I did, where I lengthened it back again, made it doubly as long, and so you'll notice that these pieces are now 40 long, is that I can do this with it. I can grab the pipe right there like that without grabbing a single piece of the vehicle. And that's because the center point of the pipe is actually in front of the vehicle, so that actually works out pretty good. So now I can turn collision on, and I'm going to save this and reload it right now. Okay, cool, saved, reloaded, and trying to get into the seat here might be tricky because the wheels are so darn close to each other. Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab everything inside the pipe, which is also another good thing right there. So I can go until I start selecting pipe, and then I know that I've got the entire vehicle selected without selecting any of the pipe, which is kind of cool. So everything is collision on. I'm actually going to grab the wheels and turn everything else collision off, so I don't have the springs and the other things on there. And so while I'm here, might as well just reselect the wheels again. Let's go ahead and set a bunch of the settings. So to start out, I'm going to go to 0.5 wheel speed just so I can see the wheels turning, and maximum torque. And then I'm going to set the target length on the spring to, let's go 2. I think that'll work okay. And the stiffness to, I don't know, let's start with 200,000 maybe. Let's see, there we go. That's 200,000 right there. And that makes them nice and puffy. Pretty much going to want to invisible the springs at my first chance because the big puffy stuff is just a pain. I don't like seeing it. Okay, and how do you get into the vehicle? That's a trick, isn't it? Even on my other tube, I had to actually collision off some pieces so I could jump in there. So I'll just go ahead and do that here, and we can do some transparency so you can see me inside there. There I am. Okay, cool. I'm inside the seat. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and turn collision back on, but I think I might actually want to transparency some more of this stuff so I can see if the wheels are spinning the right direction. So I just made the entire top part of that tube invisible. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to grab everything there and unanchor and see what happens. Ooh, it grabbed the pipe. I can see that. Okay, let's see how it's not turning. Okay, so I can see this wheel's trying to turn the right direction. I'm pretty sure its little buddy back here is trying to turn. Yeah, this one's turning the right direction. This one here doesn't appear to be turning at all, but that one's turning the right direction. So this is the one that's actually dead. Let's see. I wonder if it's even binded. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I care. Let's just click it again here. Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know what happened to that one. That might have been, I don't know. It's weird. Forward, reverse, and it's not going. Oh, it's backwards. Okay, so let me grab it with this tool, reverse the spin, and now we're good. Look at that. We're moving inside the tube. Cool. So it's always a little bit of a pain sometimes to get these, well, sometimes. It's always, and then I say sometimes, that's ridiculous. It's pretty much always a pain to get these things right, and sometimes saving and reloading actually fixes them, and sometimes it messes them up. So I need to get all the settings to these settings, essentially, and that one needs to have probably reverse spin is probably the right way to go, and it probably needs to be rebinded. So I need to reload, fix those things, and make sure that all my settings are the same then on all these wheels. Okay, cool. I set everything up and have re-saved and reloaded, and now I'm going to hop back in the seat, turn collision back on, and unanchor the vehicle, not the entire tube. Okay, she's creeping along okay, and I'm going to increase the wheel speed just to make sure. Ooh, 50, that'll be fun. Whew, yep, it works. Okay, reload. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set the wheel speed to something a little more, tolerable for the first drive. And now we need to make the tubes. So this tube here is 20 long, and it is, of course, just a single tube. We need a single tube, and we also need an angle. So I'm going to grab a reference piece there to make it nice and square, and clone this out here some more. And now I'm going to grab this piece. Whoops, grab it like that. Grab a reference, and I'm going to move it up. Let's see. I'm going to clone it up actually. Not sure exactly how far to go with it, but I just went up 20. That might be the right answer. And then I'm going to grab the rest of it again and get a reference and clone it. grab another good reference. Oh, it looks like it's already referenced. You can see this piece coming out here, but that's what you have to do there sometimes. Okay, move it back and then rotate it by 15 degrees. Now comes the fun part, if there is a fun part to this. I'm going to color one of these things, maybe two of them actually, and that'll help me identify them. Okay, so I'm going to set my scaling tool to 0.05, and I'm going to start pulling these things in to see where we start. I'm going to start with the center one right here on the outside turn. So this is the outside versus this is the inside, so the outside of the pipe here. And I'm going to move that down until it just disappears, or it's just a sliver right there. That's probably good. That's right at the edge, and that's perfect. Okay, so that's 11.9, which means I need to go 8.1, and if I move this out 8.1, that math works, and we're back at 20. So I'm going to move that in 8.1 and this in 8.1, and that leaves a little bitty piece up inside there. You do this one the same way on both sides, and this is the piece right here, 3.8, that's going to be the outside radius of that turn, and this is the bottom equivalent of that. So you move both of these pieces as well. Now you don't actually have to do all the red and all of the blonde at this time. You don't have to adjust every single one of them. We only need one of these two color pairs to be done like this, to be finished like this. The other one we can just delete, and then we can clone the one we're done with. So I'm going to go around this whole thing, and essentially this piece and this piece, these two pieces and these two pieces, will have the same adjustment, as well as their equivalent on this side. So this piece and this piece, this piece and this piece, all of these will be the same length. And then I'll just keep going around, and they'll have different lengths as they go around the circle. And at the end, I should end up with a piece that's clonable that I can make a full circle out of. So here we go. Okay, there we go. I think we're good. Gonna delete the red pieces now. And you can see what we end up with. It's a stair-stepped type thing that's two kind of partial tubes. Anyway, those should be clonable, and they should work when I rotate them. So clone them. Make sure you have a good reference right there. So you got a nice vertical reference, so when you rotate in that orientation, it comes out right. Okay, now there's the first rotation. So what you want to make sure of is that on the inside, this is where your wheels are going to be bumping along on the inside. So the inside is actually the one that needs to be the cleanest. It's better to have little gaps. So ideally, you want the pivot point to be right here in the center of this, the pivot point for these two pieces mating with each other. So you have a little bit of a bump for the wheel to go over here, but you have a little bit of a gap for the wheel to go over there. And that's going to be about the best of what you can do. Additionally, what you could do is you could go down to a smaller rotation number. So instead of 15 degrees like I used, you could go down to 5 degrees or even 1. And you'll end up with a lot smoother turn. And I don't know if the vehicle's going to work anyway, because I haven't tried this design yet. But if it doesn't work at this level, I should be able to tell whether it's going to work at the next level. And the effort that it takes to make it that fine of a detailed turn is, well, it takes a long time to load that kind of thing. So I kind of tend to not do that if I can avoid it. So 15 degrees is pretty good for me. Maybe I'm lazy. Oh yeah, I'm definitely lazy. All right, gonna go ahead and make a big donut out of this thing. Okay, now I have to find the center points of this donut. And right here is one of the blocks at the center, and I think that one right there is the other one. Yeah. So if I was to move, or rather adjust these to the outside dimensions of this donut, then I get 9 on that one, and I should get 9 on this one. Perfect. So these are each 9 long, and that tells me I'm right there at the center points of each one of these tubes. I mean, I'm well centered on that. So I need to find out how I can make this center of this piece right here, basically this point right there, or inside this piece, be the center of a big box in order to make sure that I can rotate this thing correctly. So a little tricky conceptually, but not too bad in reality. So I'm going to move this, or adjust it rather. I wanted to get it out to 20, I think, because that's where my goal was. Although I think I have to add more for the wall thickness and the rotation. Let's just do 5.5, because that would give me a stick of 20. And so there's my stick of 20 right there, and let's do the same thing on this side. So I can see already I'm short, but it looks like I'm short by exactly 1. Let's see, is that true? Yeah, that's okay. That's nice. So I'm just going to expand this out by 1 on that side too, and 1 on this side, and 1 on this side. So each one of these is 22 now, which is fine. That means I have to make my make this thing 2 longer. My regular straight will be 2 longer. Oh, no, it actually doesn't, because actually no, this goes down and this goes in like this, which ends up being 20 again. So yeah, that's what I needed to do right there. So that, in other words, this surface right here is the center point, and this surface right here is a center point on this circle here. I know it may not make a lot of sense right there how I'm explaining it, because I suck at explaining stuff sometimes, but the gist of it is all of this gets thrown away, and all of this gets thrown away. And make sure I've got all the pieces there. Yep, and I'm going to reference this, and I'm going to move this up in the air like so. I'm going to do a little save step right here just for kicks. Okay, saved just in case I mess anything up here. So I've already got this thing all collisioned off, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop it because we don't need that piece. And now I need to go in and fine-tune all of these to make them what they should be. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this out. Whoops. I'll go ahead and make it like a panel like that, and make this one a panel. And I'm just going to trim all of these down so they're nice and flush with this surface. All right, there we go. So this is all trimmed, and it's just half of every one of those pieces. I don't know why I was at the beginning of that trimming. I was like, well, this is complicated, but no, it's really not. It's just every single one of them, just half it, and you're good. Okay, so I need to move this thing up in the air. Let's see, it's right on the ground right now. So they're pretty much good to go. You can just start building at this point. So I'm going to put a piece inside this, and that will allow me to make sure that this is always rotatable in any direction. Okay, so I was interrupted by a phone call in real life there, kind of got me distracted a little bit, but this is what I've got. This is buildable at this point, because this reference here will carry over to this reference here, and it kind of makes a cube. And these right here will reference each other too. So if I select the whole thing, this is my point, I guess. You can see the blue outline is a cube, and that cube is 20 by 20 by 20. And if I select this over here, I get the same thing. This cube is outline. This is 20 by 20. This cube here, this invisible box. And that will allow me to stack these things very nicely. They will always line up, and all I have to do is start grabbing them and cloning them. And first I'm going to grab these two first, reference a nice flat piece, and get them way up in the air. And I'm always going to move these things by 20. It's very important now that your increments always be 20 at this point when you're constructing the tubes. So first of all, I'm going to give them up here just so I have them as references, and they don't go away, so I can always grab them again. Sometimes if you're tangling the tubes around and you let go of your selection, then you can kind of lose track of your selection, your reference, and it can be a pain in the butt because this angle piece has a lot of pieces to select, and sometimes it's just kind of difficult to get your view turned around and stuff so you can get a hold of that correctly. So let's see, I can see right now I've moved that piece relative to this one. I don't know, why is this not working out right there? Kind of funky. It looks like I'm going to have to back these pieces off by like 10 or something. You know, instead of doing that, I'm just going to correct it by moving these. I'm going to move that, and I'm just going to bump it into that other piece. And I'm just going to move it, I suspect it's probably off by 10. Let's see. Yeah, so that works out right. That's perfect. Okay, so that puts the vehicle, you know, right up inside there like that. And now I'm going to grab the tube portion of this. And you don't have to worry too much. This is pretty easy here because there's nothing inside the tube, and the center point of the tube's all the way over here. So so that's okay right there. And I'm just going to grab that and clone it. And first, I want to make a very basic tube here just to make sure that this is actually going to work at all. So I'm going to go ahead and move that up there, and then I'm going to rotate it around. And I'm just going to check the mechanics of this thing, and then I'll probably end the video and let you guys go ahead and construct your own if you want to. But the main thing is that you can get to the point of this construction right here and make sure that all this stuff lines up correctly. So I'm going to make sure I reference one of those pieces. You always want to reference one of these pieces here, just like you always want to reference one of these plastic pieces there. And clone it. Oh, and there's that stupid 10 offset again. So I don't know what the heck. I made some mistake somewhere, but it's not a big mistake. I can just correct it by going 10, and then I'll change my reference to 20, or my move to 20, and make sure I grab a good solid reference right there. I'm just going to move that up and then rotate it. Cool. And let's see, let's go ahead and clone that again. And it looks like my reference is holding solid. I see the arrows coming out of the points of each one of these, so that's okay. If it was off by anything, it'd be off by 15 degrees, and I'd be able to see that. Alright, and let's just clone it one more time out. Okay, and I'm going to give this a save, and then I'm going to delete those plastic pieces. Okay, there we go. I've got the plastic pieces deleted. Collision is turned on for the tube, and I'm inside the vehicle. I've just unanchored it, and here we go. That actually worked. Very cool. It's not the cleanest thing in the world, but it is working. It is traveling in the tube, and it hasn't fallen out. Okay, let's go up to wheel speed 50 and see what happens. It's going to be a short test, that's for sure. Let's see. You know what? Let's whoa, geez, almost fell out of the back of the tube. Let's I'm going to make that transparency so I can see that thing inside that tube. Let's go 75%. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Awesome. There you go. That works. Now this one will be decidedly cheaper to build and a lot quicker to make. No, it's not going to be quicker to make. It's going to take the same amount of time to load and the same amount of time to build as my previous one did. But the tighter turns and the smaller footprint, the 20 by 20 thing, that's going to be a whole lot better than my previous one, which was huge. And let's see what happens when I fall out of the tube here. You can see the springs boing, boing, boing. All right, there you go. And the rest is up to you guys. Make yourselves a tube maze thingy. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for watching my video. Sorry that was so boring. Please like the video, even if it was boring, and subscribe to my channel for some more crazy stuff. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.